Ladies and gentlemen, there is a truth that has been standing quietly in the corner of your life, not hidden, but unseen, not buried, but ignored. And today, before the month ends, it is time to confront it. The world is full of noise, opinions, distractions, temptations, and external pressures. Every day, we are offered new people to blame, new systems to curse, and new problems to fight. But the deeper truth, one that many people refuse to see, is this: the real enemy is not outside of you. The most powerful and persistent enemy lives within. It wears your face, speaks in your voice, and walks beside you every single day. This inner enemy is not loud. It is subtle. It does not shout at you but whispers. It tells you that you're tired when you're just undisciplined. It convinces you that you're not ready, not smart enough, not strong enough, even when every part of you is capable. It disguises itself as logic, as caution, as realism, but behind the mask it is fear, and this fear is not here to protect you. It is here to control you. Shi Heng Yi teaches that self-mastery begins when you stop trying to defeat the world and start trying to understand yourself. What most people don't want to admit is that their worst battles have always been internal. The war is not against others. It's against your own resistance. It's against your desire to remain comfortable even when that comfort is slowly decaying your potential. The truth that many refuse to see is that the habits, thoughts, and emotions that have become normal are the very things holding them back. We live in an age where it is fashionable to talk about mindset. People love to speak of transformation, healing, and awakening, but most do so while refusing to enter the place where that transformation begins, the battlefield of the self. You cannot change your life if you are unwilling to face yourself without excuses. That means looking honestly at your laziness, your addiction to comfort, your fears, and your lack of discipline. It means accepting that no one is responsible for your situation more than you. It's easier to blame society than to admit you lack focus. It's easier to resent successful people than to accept you've wasted months scrolling, complaining, and waiting for the perfect moment. But the truth, if you're willing to face it, is this: your mind is your master until you master your mind. And if you never fight back, your inner enemy will shape your destiny, quietly, consistently, completely. Shi Heng Yi says that to truly live, we must become our own guardians. This means we must protect ourselves from our weaker impulses, from our lazy thoughts, and from the self-sabotaging habits that grow stronger the longer we let them be. This is the part most people reject. They don't want to believe that they are the architect of their suffering. But whether you accept it or not, your actions repeated over time are creating the life you're experiencing now. If your days are filled with chaos, distraction, and exhaustion, it's not because life is unfair. It's because your inner enemy has gone unchallenged. And this enemy doesn't just steal your time, it steals your peace. It fills your mind with doubt, second guessing, and anxiety. It tells you you're not worthy, and you believe it. It says you're too far behind, and you accept it. It tells you there's no point in trying, and you obey. The most tragic thing is not that people fail, it's that they never even try because of the voice within that says it's not worth it. But the truth Shi Heng Yi reveals is not hopeless, it's empowering. If the real enemy is within you, then so is the solution. The same mind that creates fear can be trained to create clarity. The same body that stays idle can be trained for strength. The same heart that avoids pain can be opened to growth. You don't need to wait for a perfect life to begin training the self. You need only the willingness to begin. Self-mastery does not happen overnight. It begins with the smallest act of resistance, getting up when you want to stay in bed, staying silent when your ego wants to speak, choosing discipline when your mind wants distraction. These choices are not dramatic, but they are powerful. Each one is a message to the enemy within: you do not control me. Eventually, with enough repetition, the enemy begins to weaken. The doubt gets quieter. The fear begins to shrink. And in its place, something new is born. A calm, focused, unshakable version of you that has always been there, buried beneath the noise. That is the truth you must face before the month ends, not because the calendar says so, but because your life is passing and it will not wait. Conclusion: the enemy you've been running from isn't out there. It's not the economy, your past, your critics, or your circumstances. It is within. And until you face it with courage, with honesty, and with discipline, nothing outside will ever change. But once you do, once you meet yourself face and refuse to back down, everything begins to shift. The battle is not easy, but it is necessary, and most importantly, it is yours to win. In a world full of endless options, the greatest threat to your growth is not failure, it is distraction. Most people believe they are stuck because of their circumstances, when in truth, they are trapped by the constant choices they make to avoid growth. The truth that many refuse to see is this: you are not being forced into stagnation, you are choosing it, one distraction at a time. Shi Heng Yi teaches that human beings are not lacking in potential, they are lacking in presence. Every person has the ability to grow, evolve, and awaken to higher levels of understanding. But this path requires stillness. It demands that we turn inward and confront ourselves, and this is exactly what most people avoid. Instead of sitting in silence to observe their thoughts, they fill every quiet moment with noise. Instead of embracing discomfort and using it as fuel for progress, they numb themselves with entertainment, busyness, and shallow pursuits. Distraction is not always obvious. It doesn't just come in the form of social media or television. It often looks like productivity. It shows up as staying busy all day, doing things that feel urgent but mean nothing. It looks like constantly chasing new goals without ever facing the deeper question: who am I becoming through all this? Shi Heng Yi reminds us that the external world is a reflection of our internal world, and when your inner world is scattered, distracted, and unfocused, your life will mirror that chaos. Growth requires a kind of discipline that distraction never allows. When you sit alone with your thoughts, without stimulation, your insecurities surface. Your regrets rise, your mind becomes restless. That's why people avoid silence, not because it's boring, but because it's revealing. It shows you everything you've been avoiding, and yet this is the exact doorway through which real transformation begins. When you choose distraction, you delay growth, but more dangerously, you become unaware of how much time is slipping away. You scroll for 5 minutes and lose an hour. You put off reading that book or writing that journal entry, and suddenly months have passed. And during all this time, life continues. Time does not stop for distraction. Life moves forward, even if you do not. That is why distraction is not neutral. It is a decision to remain asleep while life is offering you a chance to wake up. Shi Heng Yi often speaks about the importance of intention. Everything you do is either leading you toward the person you are meant to become or pulling you away from it. There is no middle ground. If you are not actively choosing growth, you are passively choosing distraction. The two cannot coexist. Growth is deliberate, focused, and uncomfortable. Distraction is passive, automatic, and comforting, but only in the short term. In the long term, it leaves you with nothing but regret and missed potential. The truth is uncomfortable, and that's why so many ignore it. It's easier to watch someone else live their dream than to build your own. It's easier to comment on someone else's success than to face your own failures. It's easier to stay busy than to be honest about the things you keep postponing, but avoidance has a cost. Every time you distract yourself from doing what you know you must do, you weaken your inner self. You teach your mind that comfort is more important than clarity, that escape is better than engagement, that fear wins. The Shaolin tradition teaches that where the mind goes, the energy follows. If your mind is scattered, your energy is wasted. If your mind is distracted, your life becomes fragmented. The path to mastery begins with focus, not just on tasks, but on truth. You must ask yourself every day, am I doing what aligns with my growth? Or am I just keeping myself entertained, busy, and numb? Distraction also becomes addictive. The more you feed it, the more it grows. Your brain becomes wired to seek the quick reward, the instant gratification, the easy escape. And slowly, your ability to sit with discomfort, to focus deeply, and to pursue meaningful goals starts to disappear. What you refuse to see is that this pattern is not harmless. It is eroding your potential, piece by piece. But there is hope. The moment you become aware of your distraction is the moment you begin to reclaim your life. You don't need to overhaul everything at once. Start small, set boundaries with your devices, create time for silence, reflect daily, and most importantly, reconnect with your purpose. When your why becomes stronger than your excuses, your focus returns. You begin to protect your time like it's sacred, because it is. You are not meant to live a life of surface-level stimulation. You are meant to go deep, to understand yourself, to master your energy, and to live with intention. But that version of you will not emerge through endless distraction. It will only appear when you choose growth again and again, especially when it's hard. Conclusion: the uncomfortable truth is this: your distractions are not accidental, they are choices. Every time you pick distraction over discipline, you delay the life you could be living. And before this month ends, you must confront that. You must stop waiting for the right time and start making space for the real work. Because growth doesn't happen when it's convenient. It happens when you commit, especially when it's inconvenient. Turn down the volume of the world. Face yourself. And remember, the life you want is on the other side of the focus you've been avoiding. Freedom is often misunderstood. Many people believe freedom means doing what you want, when you want, how you want, but this definition is deceptive. It offers temporary pleasure but leads to long-term instability. True freedom, as taught by Shi Heng Yi, is not the absence of rules or restrictions, it is the presence of self-mastery. It is the ability to govern your own mind, emotions, and actions without being a slave to your impulses. And the only path to that kind of freedom is discipline. Discipline is not punishment, it is structure. It is clarity. It is the invisible force that allows you to align your life with your deepest intentions. Without discipline, your potential remains scattered. You become someone who dreams a lot, but accomplishes little. Someone who desires change, but resists the process. Someone who starts many things, but finishes none. This is the result of a mind that has not yet learned to obey its own higher wisdom. In the modern world, people chase comfort. They are told to follow their feelings, to seek ease, to avoid hardship, but what they aren't told is that a life of constant comfort creates internal chaos. When there is no structure, the mind becomes noisy. When there is no discipline, life becomes reactive. Without discipline, you are not free. You are controlled by moods, habits, and distractions that quietly dominate your time and energy. Shi Heng Yi teaches that discipline is what brings peace, not pressure. A disciplined person wakes up knowing what must be done. There is no negotiation with laziness, no debate with the inner critic. Decisions become simple because they are anchored in principle, not emotion. You don't meditate when you feel like it. You meditate because it's necessary. You don't train your body when it's convenient. You do it because it is who you are becoming. Discipline creates identity. It shapes character. It forms a foundation so solid that external chaos can no longer shake your internal clarity. The illusion of freedom without discipline is dangerous. It promises joy but delivers anxiety. It offers excitement but produces exhaustion. When every moment is a choice based on fleeting feelings, life becomes unstable. You start skipping what matters in favor of what feels good now. And slowly your sense of control begins to erode. One day missed turns into a habit broken. One excuse turns into a lifestyle. This is how potential is wasted, not in one moment, but in thousands of silent ones where discipline was replaced with indulgence. Discipline, on the other hand, is the quiet friend who stays even when motivation leaves. It shows up when no one is watching. It whispers, "Keep going," when the world is telling you to quit. And the more you follow it, the stronger you become. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The mind learns that not every thought needs attention. The body learns that it can endure more than it believes. And the heart learns that peace is not in escaping challenge, but in facing it with intention. Many people confuse discipline with rigidity, but true discipline is flexible. It adapts. It doesn't break under pressure. It bends, recalibrates, and continues. It is not about perfection. It is about consistency. Even when you fail, a disciplined mind learns from the failure, adjusts, and returns stronger. This is what builds resilience, and resilience is what carries you forward long after excitement fades. Discipline is also an act of self-respect. When you keep your promises to yourself, you begin to trust your own word. You no longer need external validation because you have internal alignment. You know who you are, what you value, and what you're willing to do to live in integrity. This is rare, and it is powerful, because in a world full of distraction and inconsistency, a person of discipline stands out, calm, clear, and unshaken. Shi Heng Yi reminds us that freedom without discipline is chaos, and discipline without purpose is punishment. So, the goal is not just to be disciplined, but to direct that discipline towards something meaningful, toward becoming a more conscious, capable, compassionate version of yourself. Discipline is not about suffering, it's about structure. It's not about restriction, it's about releasing yourself from the chains of impulsiveness and emotional turbulence. Each act of discipline is a vote for your future. When you rise early instead of sleeping in, when you train your body instead of indulging your weakness, when you pause to breathe instead of reacting in anger, you are declaring that you are in control, that your higher self leads, not your fears or laziness. These moments may seem small, but they accumulate. And one day, you will look around and realize that the life you are living was built brick by brick through disciplined choices. Conclusion: the truth you may have refused to see is that freedom doesn't come from avoiding responsibility. It comes from embracing it. Discipline is not a burden, It is the key. It unlocks your potential, sharpens your focus, and leads you to peace. The freedom to create, to choose, to grow. It all begins with the courage to do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. Before this month ends, remember, discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It is its foundation. Choose discipline, and you will find the power to shape your life on your terms. Excuses are comfortable lies. They are subtle, convincing, and often dressed as logic. But underneath their surface lies something darker, a quiet betrayal. Each excuse you make is not just a delay or a justification. It is a refusal to step into the responsibility of your own life. And when you repeatedly choose excuses over action, over truth, over effort, you are betraying the very potential you were born with. Shi Heng Yi often reminds us that the most dangerous battles are not the ones we fight with the world, but the ones we avoid within ourselves. The excuse sounds harmless at first. I'm tired today. I'll start tomorrow. It's not the right time. But when these phrases become habitual, they slowly erode your character. What you don't confront, you begin to tolerate. What you tolerate, you eventually become. And the person who was once full of vision, hope, and ambition becomes someone who watches from the sidelines, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. Excuses are clever. They masquerade as reason. They give you just enough justification to step away from challenge. But deep down, you know when you're lying to yourself. You know when you're avoiding the difficult thing that must be done. And the more you do it, the more your integrity weakens, self-trust diminishes, confidence disappears. Because how can you believe in yourself when you constantly abandon yourself? Every time you say, I can't, when you mean, I won't, you are choosing to live beneath your capabilities. It's not that you don't have the time, you haven't made it. It's not that you're not ready, it's that you're afraid. And it's not that you're incapable, it's that you've convinced yourself that struggle is something to avoid, not embrace. But growth lives in the struggle, strength is born in discomfort, mastery begins when excuses end. Shi Heng Yi teaches that excuses are chains. Invisible, yes, but no less real. They tie you to the same cycles, the same patterns, the same level of life. They keep you from rising, they keep you from awakening. And the worst part is that no one else can see those chains, only you know they exist. Which means only you can break them. No one else can hold you accountable for the promises you whisper to yourself. That's your job, and it is a sacred job, because your future is shaped not by what you hope for, but by what you consistently do. And every excuse you make today becomes a habit tomorrow. You teach your mind that it's okay to quit early, that it's fine to lower your standards, that it's acceptable to shrink when things get hard. And with each repetition, you betray not just your goals, but your identity. Excuses are self-betrayal because they are rooted in fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of success even. They are how we protect ourselves from the vulnerability that comes with effort. But that protection has a cost. It costs you the life you could have lived. It costs you pride, peace, and progress. And before long, you begin to wonder why you feel stuck, why nothing changes, why the motivation you once had is gone. The answer is not outside you, it never was. The moment you decide to stop negotiating with your excuses is the moment you reclaim your power. The power to choose action even when it's uncomfortable. The power to keep your word even when it's hard. The power to rise above the part of you that wants to remain hidden, passive, and safe. Discipline is a form of self-respect. So is honesty. And when you begin to treat your own promises with seriousness, life begins to shift. You walk differently, You think differently. You become someone you can trust again. And that trust is more valuable than motivation, more sustaining than inspiration. Because motivation fades, but self-trust builds a foundation that no setback can destroy, you will never feel fully ready. The timing will never be perfect. Life will always offer reasons to wait. But Shi Heng Yi reminds us that excuses are not facts, they are mental stories. And if you can create those stories, you can also unwrite them. You can choose a new narrative, one where effort replaces avoidance, where courage replaces comfort, where truth replaces fear. Before the month ends, you have a choice: to continue justifying your limitations or to confront them, to keep betraying yourself in small, daily ways, or to take a step, even a small one, toward who you truly are, not the version others expect, not the version shaped by fear, but the real you, clear, focused, and free. Conclusion: your excuses are not harmless delays, they are decisions. Decisions that shape your identity, your habits, and your future. Every time you allow an excuse to win, you lose a little more of your potential. But the reverse is also true. Every time you act in spite of an excuse, you build strength, you build resilience, you build trust, and trust in yourself is the foundation of true freedom. Before this month ends, silence the voice of excuse. Honor your path, and show yourself what happens when you stop betraying who you were always meant to become.